All right, buckle up, folks, because this story kicks off like a scene from a political thriller, only it's real. Imagine waking up to find your country's entire oil and gold stash being demanded, not requested, demanded by none other than President Donald J. Trump. Yep, you read that right. No, hey, let's talk. No, can we come to an agreement? Just a blunt, high-pressure, take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum. Hand over 90% of Burkina Faso's resources in 24 hours or brace yourself for sanctions, blockades, and sabotage. And guess who had to deal with this gold-grabbing madness? Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Now, before we get into how this went from backroom deal to headline chaos, smash that like button, subscribe, and keep your popcorn nearby. Picture this, a sealed envelope hand-delivered by a former U.S. military attaché, flanked by some very serious-looking security contractors. Inside, a note so bold it made even Washington insiders spit out their coffee. The message to Traoré? Quote, "Let American companies drill and mine as they please. Give us long-term control of your energy policy. You've got a day or else." No fluff, no handshake, just a blunt, high-pressure, take-it-or-leave-it ultimatum. Hand over 90% of Burkina Faso's resources in 24 hours or brace yourself for sanctions, blockades, and sabotage. And guess who had to deal with this gold-grabbing madness? Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This wasn't some wild internet rumor or a half-baked conspiracy theory whispered in a dimly lit bar. It was cold, hard fact. The kind that makes world powers sit up straight. Deep beneath Burkina Faso's sun-baked soil sat a treasure trove of untouched oil reserves, confirmed by a secret geological team put together right after Captain Traoré took control. And when I say secret, I mean spy thriller secret. Russian engineers were brought in to run the underground scans, Iranian drones flew stealthily under radar like ghost birds, and North Korean tech teams made sure every byte of data was locked down tighter than Fort Knox. The whole operation was hush-hush, until, of course, the first drill kissed the earth. That's when everything blew wide open, because someone else had eyes in the sky. Enter the satellites, American ones, French ones, all watching from orbit like nosy neighbors with billion-dollar binoculars. Within just 2 days, U.S. intelligence flagged bizarre energy activity buzzing across the Sahel. They saw heavy equipment rolling in from Iran and Venezuela. They intercepted encrypted chatter hinting at, get this, a brand new independent petroleum corridor. And then came the real bombshell, gold. Burkina Faso had already begun reclaiming its mines, politely showing French-controlled companies the door and replacing them with their own national military units. The cash? It wasn't jetting off to Paris anymore. It was going into a fund for local development. Translation? Burkina Faso wasn't just waking up, it was breaking free. And Washington? They knew exactly what was happening. A resource-rich African nation powered by its people, its own military, with zero reliance on Wall Street, Paris, or those suits at the IMF, that wasn't just political defiance, that was a frickin' blueprint for revolution. A model that might make Mali, Niger, Chad, and Congo all start asking, hey, why not us? Cue the panic. Suddenly, phones lit up from boardrooms to war rooms. Exxon was calling, Chevron too. DC power brokers whispered the same thing. How do we shut this down? Because the last thing they wanted was another Libya-style domino effect, except this time fully African-owned. Their plan? Simple. Send in the big gun. Send in Trump. The goal wasn't diplomacy, it was domination dressed up in a suit and tie. The message that landed in Ouagadougou came wearing the smirk of empire, masked as business opportunity. Trump's team presented it like a corporate merger. But make no mistake, this wasn't a pitch, it was a shakedown. Titled the Confidential Strategic Resource Acquisition Framework? How's that for a mouthful? The 7-page memo laid out demands with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. 90% of Burkina Faso's oil to be handed over to U.S. oil giants under the friendly label of stabilization. All major gold export routes to be managed by U.S.-approved intermediaries. New mining contracts and national revenue to be overseen by an American-led advisory board. In exchange, they dangled shiny promises, security cooperation, technology partnerships, And the big one? Protection from regime change. Yes, that's right. Do what we say, or you'll suddenly find things falling apart. The kicker? At the very top of the document, in thick, dramatic red ink, Traoré has 24 hours. This wasn't 21st century diplomacy. It was imperialism with a PowerPoint. And back in Washington, the suits tried to act like it was business as usual. Let's break it down like this. When the firestorm started, Washington claimed Trump had gone off script, as if he'd just ad-libbed the whole power grab during a late-night snack run. That's not official U.S. policy, they cried. But here's the thing. Nobody in the room stopped him. Why? Because deep down, Trump wasn't saying anything they hadn't all been quietly muttering into their wine glasses for years. The real game is simple. We don't care who's in charge as long as we get what's in the ground. Oil, gold, control. But guess who wasn't playing that game? Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He didn't panic, didn't sweat. The moment that smug little memo landed in his war room, he calmly read it twice, then pushed it aside like a mosquito buzzing in his ear. He looked up and said with fire in his voice, "So that's their peace plan? Slavery wearing a necktie?" No calls to Paris, no polite emails to DC. Instead, he picked up the phone and called the one unit that matters when things get real, the Special Sovereignty Force, Burkina Faso's military shadow squad built for exactly this kind of showdown. Orders flew like lightning. Lock down every oil field, double the guards on every gold convoy, cut the wires, no more data leaking to foreign hands. Prep the national broadcast, the people needed to hear the truth. And by noon, every eye in Burkina Faso was locked on their TV screen. The screen turned black, then faded to a single shot. No studio, no fancy graphics, just Traoré, standing tall, one hand on the Burkina Bay flag, the other gripping a folder stamped U.S. threat. His voice, calm as a midnight lake, his stare, sharp enough to cut glass. To the people of Burkina Faso and to our African brothers and sisters, an offer has been made. An offer to sell our oil, our gold, our dignity in exchange for fear.
To those behind this insult, to Mr. Trump and his backers, let me be clear. We are not Libya. We are not Iraq. We are not your playground. And then came the thunder. You gave us 24 hours. Here's our reply. You now have 24 hours to take your greed, your threats, and your arrogance and get off African soil. Salute. Exit. No questions, no backpedaling, no room for doubt. And just like that, Africa roared. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, Traoré's words weren't just a speech. They were a spark. But while the people celebrated, far darker gears began to turn. Deep inside oil boardrooms and intelligence agencies, alarms blared. ExxonMobil was on speed dial to Washington. Halliburton's crisis team was sweating through their suits. And at CIA HQ, red lights everywhere. Why? Because Traoré did the unthinkable. He said no publicly. That wasn't just resistance, it was contagious. If Burkina Faso stood up and won, what's to stop Mali, Niger, Chad, or Congo from trying the same? So, the counterattack began. CIA agents started popping up across West Africa like unwanted guests. Surveillance drones buzzed tighter loops over Burkina's oil fields. Mysterious smear campaigns flooded social media like Traoré is unstable, he's dangerous, he's lost his mind. Even worse, near the Ghana border, shady mercs linked to one of those private intel outfits started creeping in like they were preparing for something surgical. The message from Washington? Crystal clear. Shut it down fast. But Traoré's message had already traveled farther. Africa is not for sale. And now, the destabilization plan is in full swing. Western media outlets suddenly singing the same tune. Burkina Faso faces humanitarian crisis. Traoré is isolating his people. Experts say the economy will collapse. But on the ground, something totally different. Burkina-based citizens lined up, volunteering to guard the oil fields, ready to fight, ready to protect what's theirs. Across the country, resistance didn't come wrapped in uniforms alone. It was in classrooms, kitchens, street corners, and smartphone screens. University students were holding sovereignty teach-ins like their final exams depended on it. Women's groups marched not with protest signs, but casseroles, delivering meals to soldiers standing guard at the gold mines. It wasn't just about fighting back. It was about owning the moment. And when CNN or BBC tried to paint Traoré as some power-mad warlord, young people didn't rage, they laughed. Then they reposted the headline with captions like, "If they hate him this much, he's clearly doing something right." Captain Ibrahim Traoré got it. He really got it. Because this wasn't just about one American president with too much bronzer and a Sharpie. No, this was about the entire system. The global ATM machine of banks, oil execs, spy chiefs, and media spin factories that had siphoned Africa's wealth for centuries. And now, that machine had finally hit a wall. His name was Traoré. And unlike others before him, he didn't just say no, he meant it. But the man wasn't alone. Far from it. Just days after that now famous thanks but no thanks moment to Trump, 3 planes took down in Ouagadougou. No fighter jets, no drone strikes, just military-grade brotherhood. From Mali came Colonel Assimi Gota. Quiet, steady, the type of guy who doesn't speak unless it's critical. From Niger, General Abdourahmane Chiani, with fire in his eyes and a spine made of steel. From Guinea, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, walking tall with zero chill and less patience. No diplomats, no handlers, no need for translators. They marched into the presidential palace side by side, and when they walked out, they stood shoulder to shoulder with Traoré and delivered a mic drop moment for the ages. If you touch Burkina Faso, you touch all of us. It wasn't a threat, it was a doctrine. The birth of the AES Shield, Africa's own version of NATO, minus the hypocrisy. Mali sent in battle-hardened advisors to lock down oil fields. Niger rolled out logistics teams across the desert. Guinea opened up its skies for emergency supply drops. And while boots hit the ground, fingers hit keyboards. AES media squads launched a counter-strike. They exposed fake news, called out propaganda, and flooded timelines with a message loud enough to drown out even the loudest anchor. Our resources, our future, our fight. And the people responded. In Bamako, thousands poured into the streets waving flags with Traoré's face on them. In Conakry, murals went up overnight, Traoré standing atop oil barrels like a general on a chessboard, holding high the Burkina flag. Even in Chad and CAR, chants echoed, AES or death. And while Western agencies scrambled to update their threat maps, they all missed one crucial update. This wasn't just about Burkina Faso anymore. This was a pan-African firewall. But if you thought that was the twist, hold on tight, because here come the plot heavies. No, not the ones with sanctions and a superiority complex. We're talking about China and Russia. And they didn't come in throwing elbows. They came in with something even stronger. Solutions. First up, China. No press conference, no bluster, just a low-key diplomatic crew stepping off the plane with engineers, schematics, and a message. You don't need Washington. You need a refinery. A refinery built in 90 days. Gold valuation tech that cut out Western banks. And a trade system powered by China's digital yuan. No more CFA franc, no more dollar dependency. Just full spectrum resource control. Then came Russia, stage left. A military jet landed carrying crates marked specialized defense assets. Read weapons that would make drones cry. Suddenly, Burkina Faso oil fields had Russian anti-drone coverage. Try flying over that, Uncle Sam. Washington lost its mind. CNN screamed, "New access of danger." Fox News declared, "Traoré must be stopped." But in Africa, the vibe was different. Very different. People didn't see China and Russia as invaders. They saw them as tools, options finally outside the colonial toolbox. And Traoré wasn't bowing. He was building. A continent-wide call to arms wrapped in dignity. AES wasn't just an alliance, it was the future. A future with no colonial strings.
And somehow, against all odds, Traoré had pulled off what no one thought possible. Rejected a U.S. ultimatum, exposed a global resource grab, rallied West Africa, welcomed Chinese and Russian support, and turned Burkina Faso into the spark of a brand new African revolution. In America, panic. In Africa, purpose. Former CIA officials, energy moguls, retired generals, all fixated on a single word: dangerous. They called him crazy, a dictator, Putin's lapdog, Gaddafi 2.0. But social media? It wasn't buying the panic. Hashtags exploded across the continent. Hashtag Traoré the Lion. Hashtag Africa is not for sale. Hashtag We are all Burkina. African content creators on YouTube and Instagram flooded timelines with tributes to his courage. Even Black Americans joined the chorus, saying, "He told Trump over my dead body and didn't blink." That's what leadership looks like. Meanwhile, the youth of Burkina Faso had their own way of responding. They took CNN's fear-filled segments and flipped them into viral protest songs. They rocked t-shirts that read, "If CNN hates you, you're probably doing something right." Captain Ibrahim Traoré was no longer just a president. He had become a symbol, a meme, a movement. Even Time magazine couldn't ignore the shift. Their next headline: "The Man America Can't Bully. Inside Traoré's African Uprising." But fame comes with a target. The more his name soared through headlines, the more pushback he faced. Private intelligence firms launched cyber attacks. Fake scandals flooded social feeds. Washington's quarters started whispering about regime change. Again. But none of it stuck, because people were wide awake. They could see what was happening. Traoré had done the unthinkable. He flipped the script. He wasn't supposed to resist. He wasn't supposed to survive, and he definitely wasn't supposed to go viral. Yet there he was, a 35-year-old soldier from Ouagadougou, trending harder than world leaders without a PR firm or billionaire donor behind him. Just sheer grit and oil. Then came his boldest move. As the 24-hour ultimatum ticked away, Burkina Faso's National Assembly met behind closed doors in a secret emergency session. Under Traoré's direct orders, they passed a resolution that would rattle the global elite. All oil and gold reserves within Burkina Faso are hereby nationalized and permanently shielded from all foreign corporate control. The ink dried. The decree was law. By sunrise, the message was clear. Western corporations, pack your bags, you're done here. Licenses for French and Canadian firms, revoked. A U.S. energy survey team escorted to the border. Foreign embassies were told plainly, our resources are not up for discussion. Then came Traoré, live on national TV. No military regalia, no weapons, just traditional dress, a calm voice, and unwavering eyes. He said, "For generations, we were exploited. Now that we've discovered our wealth, they want to steal it back? I'm not here to serve empires. I'm here to serve a people who have suffered far too long." He paused, then dropped the line that echoed through every village and capital. Burkina Faso is not afraid, and I will not negotiate with thieves. The streets erupted. Drums, fireworks, dancing in the capital. Crowds chanted, "He said no! He said no!" Online, the movement caught fire again. Young Africans filmed themselves holding up fuel, soil, and gold, whispering, "We protect what's ours." Trump's deadline had passed. The threat fizzled. And Traoré, he didn't just survive, he rewrote the rules. Washington went silent for 12 long hours. No briefings, no tweets, just behind-the-scenes panic. Then, at 7:42 a.m. Eastern Time, Donald Trump finally broke the silence. All caps, of course. Traoré just made the biggest mistake of his life. Africa will pay for this. Cue media chaos. Journalists scrambled for sound bites. Cable news turned into a shouting match. Markets wobbled. Wall Street braced for a storm. But in Ouagadougou, Traoré, he didn't flinch. He reportedly chuckled at the tweet and said, "That's the sound of an empire losing control." Still, the threat was real. U.S. satellites zeroed in on West Africa. Navy ships quietly repositioned near the Gulf of Guinea. AFRICOM issued subtle warnings about rising instability. Burkina Faso wasn't waiting.
Air defenses lit up. Gold routes were fortified. Special forces deployed to key infrastructure. And Traoré's allies answered immediately. Mali sent in armored units. Nigeria activated joint radar coverage. Guinea dropped a game changer. A rapid response pact. Any attack on Burkina Faso would be met with full military retaliation. But what happened next? No one saw coming. It wasn't just governments that stood up. It was the people. From Nigeria to South Africa, Kenya to Senegal, thousands marched on U.S. embassies. Not in protest, in warning. Placards read, "Touch Traoré, touch all of us. Africa is not your minefield. Keep your democracy, we'll keep our dignity." Meanwhile, Trump was reportedly furious his pressure tactics were falling flat. But the final blow didn't come from a president or army. It came from a video, just 43 seconds long, posted by Traoré. Calm, composed, unshaken. This isn't just about oil. This isn't just about gold. This is about the soul of Africa. And I would rather die standing than live kneeling. Boom! The video went everywhere. Over 12 million views in under a day. Former African leaders broke their silence. One by one, they called Traoré a new kind of leader, the spark of a new era. The world held its breath. But for Africa, it was the first full breath of freedom in a very long time. If you felt that in your bones, hit that like button. Subscribe for more raw stories that challenge power and amplify truth. Because Traoré didn't just say no. He lit the spark of a new Africa.